I want the
All right, let's
listeners
do
at
the lead
home
in.
to know that Nick made a joke about illiteracy off mic, which I don't agree with what he said about.
I agree with what I said.
Folks, welcome back for the first time to the very first episode of a show that is provisionally going to be known as 7-Eleven Boys. My name is Connor McFarland, and my co-host here is Nick Galloway.
This is episode 1, intro of 7-Eleven Boys, and we are really excited about this concept. Connor, you want to explain what this concept is?
I sure do, Nick. The premise of the show is that the two of us are going to visit and review every 7-Eleven within the DC Beltway. I'm talking District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. Everything within the 495 loop. Some people are saying that this is the most vast and daring undertaking of a lifetime. I won't dispute that. This is going to be a lot of 7-Elevens. Will we actually be able to do all these 7-Elevens? Probably not. Is anyone going to want to listen long enough to hear us bitterly arguing about every 7-Eleven? Probably not either. But, you know.
I think it has to be done. As you'll see, we have some pretty strong opinions. And in this first episode, which we recorded before this message, the quality of the audio is so in line with our feelings about one of these 7-Elevens, which is bad. So I really hope that you enjoy this first episode and continue to listen and grow with us as we embark on this endeavor, which many people have called us brave, courageous, and even heroes for taking on this task.
Martyrs, even.
Oh, martyrs, yeah. We're getting there. So enjoy episode 1 intro with special guest Alex Homan.
The other night, we paid a visit to our first 7-Eleven in this series, which is at the corner of Edmonston Road and Seminole Street in Berwyn Heights, Maryland.
Fucking 7-Eleven.
All right, the scene. We pull up. It is 1:15 a.m.
Uh-huh.
Inside the parking lot are 3 cars. One is about maybe a red sedan. Don't remember the color. The other is some type of Cadillac. The other is a police cruiser. Berwyn Heights, Maryland. There's nobody in the police cruiser. It's just there as a deterrent.
It's always there.
It seems to be a common thing with 7-Elevens and
PG County town. Sorry, I didn't think you were going to yield the floor to me. PG counties, some of their smaller towns seem to like just parking a police car in strategic, vulnerable to frequent robbery locations.
yeah, I mean, when I'm about to rob a store, the first thing I look for is, shit, are there any empty police cruisers in the parking lot? Are there any unattended police cars that could potentially not stop me at all?
But that's, beside the point.
It is beside the point. Our hometown, both of our hometown, Cheverly, Maryland, the only 7-Eleven in town has the same situation going on. And yet that's pretty frequently robbed, so I think they need to rethink their strategy, but
We'll talk about that one a different day.
we'll talk about that on a different day. So we walk in. Oh, wait, we don't. The door is locked. There's a whole party of people, and there's at least 7 individuals inside this 7-Eleven. Jesus Christ, man.
Okay, including employees, maybe.
Including employees, yes. There are 7 human bodies inside this 7-Eleven. But we pull up, and we're getting the wall, There's no way to get inside without, kind of degrading ourselves, knocking on the glass, like a little tippy tap, and some guy's got to come over. He's like mopping the floor or whatever, and he just looks at us, shakes his head, and these 2 guys, these 2 white guys coming in, they're ruining their peace, their quiet, come inside and just fuck around for their little show.
They reluctantly did let us in, though.
We were,
We were better behaved than the group of like college kids who were in there.
there were some college students there with some questionable motives. They were spacing out. You know, I think they were on the drugs,
Possibly on the drugs.
possibly on the drugs. You know, unconfirmed. Unconfirmed sources are telling me that they have confirmed that these college kids were high off the zaps. Let me tell you. But irregardless, let's get back to this.
I love how it's taken us without even really derailing at this point. It's so much preface.
Yes. Connor, what were your observations when you were first allowed to enter the store?
Well, I found it to be very much old school, kind of PG County, dingy 7-Eleven vibes, which I like. It's it had that smell, which I don't know how to describe the smell to the listeners, but like it's kind of smells like cleaning supplies, but it also just kind of smells like a church basement, if you will.
Very dusty.
And then, uh, you know, coffee wasn't really freshly made. We didn't get any coffee that night. I mean, it was kind of late, but it seemed to be lacking. Didn't have a great selection. Let me start off first of all by saying it didn't have a great selection. A lot of the ones out here have like a good selection. Even if they don't have a lot of regular shit, they at least have like a lot of like Central American kind of snacks available depending on where it's at. This one did not have any of that.
Yeah, we were definitely coming in at a lull. I mean, I don't know if it's like this regularly or if we just caught it on a bad night, but I definitely agree. The selection was sparse. There were many blank spaces where there should have been not blank spaces.
I mean, quite frankly, and I've been to this 7-Eleven a lot of times, not recently, but it's kind of a shitty 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
I almost want to say it's a Baltimore quality 7-Eleven.
Ooh.
Their 7-Elevens, for the most part, are shit.
Yeah.
They don't do 7-Elevens right up there. I don't know what's going on. They don't do a lot of things right, but they certainly aren't doing a good job at their 7-Elevens. That's beside the point, though. We're not talking about that city's 7-Elevens today. What it is what it is. But there's something going on at this one. It's not good.
Yeah, some of my stray observations, you know, I always like to get a cold one. Not in Prince George's County, though, because they actually don't serve alcohol and non-approved vendors. It's controlled heavily by the
7-Elevens do sell beer and wine.
Yes, and some
few in the whole county.
Yeah, when the law went into effect, some were grandfathered in, but for the most part, the county government is in control of alcohol sales.
I actually know the reason. Franchise not like non-franchise 7-Elevens, non like corporate ran ones. If they have the license, which is hard to get.
Yes.
That's why one of the ones in like Palmer Park or like Landover over by FedEx Field sells beer.
Oh, really? I don't think I've been to that one, but
we're gonna
go soon to see
7-Eleven. We're gonna check that one out.
Yeah.
The one I was talking about earlier, that one that sucks in Laurel.
Yeah.
They also sell beer.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
Let's
good to know that that's the reason, but I mean, it still does kind of factor into whether or not the county government controls alcohol sales, and this is interesting because it's the same thing in neighboring Montgomery County, but in other counties in the state and places across the country, it's very common to see beer, wine, and maybe even liquor in grocery stores and convenience stores.
Yeah.
But in this one, when I talk about cold ones, I'm talking about sodas and coffees.
I want to just also, while we're on this topic, say Prince George's County, on the other hand, unlike Montgomery County, where the county controls liquor, there's liquor stores fucking everywhere in PG County.
This is true.
So it's that they don't sell beer and wine at most regular stores, but there are liquor stores and drive-through liquor stores, which I didn't realize aren't really a thing most places.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, the laws are different than Montgomery, but
or Virginia.
Yeah.
Which that's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the drinks, Nick.
So in this 7-Eleven on Edmonston Seminole, I think this was probably the worst thing about it was the refrigerator was broken. Now
that's not.
No. What do you mean no?
I recall, and I want the listeners to know that we've already had this argument about someone's maybe hazy recollection of what happened that night.
There's nothing hazy about my recollection. My recollection is crystal.
We went into this 7-Eleven, and one of the first things Nick does is he goes and opens opens the little door to the little cooler area with the drinks, blanking on the word for that, and commented that they were actually cold. Because on our way there, we were discussing another 7-Eleven that has warm, not very cold.
This is not. This is just fake bullshit. This is not what I said at all. I was remarking that similar to other 7-Elevens dip in quality since the pandemic started, which is something that I have noted in my own personal observations. This 7-Eleven had the same diagnosis, which is broken refrigerator, warm drinks. And the one that's close to my house even has, not only does it have broken warm drinks, there's a broken freezer. So they're just sitting around with melted ice cream. And, you think like, oh, this is something that they will surely fix. This is a problem. I don't, normally when I want to eat ice cream, I want it to be, a certain, consistency or temperature. But in my local 7-Eleven on Piney Branch and Flower, multiple times I've gone in and they're just sitting there with a broken freezer, which is still full of ice cream. They didn't remove the stock, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about Edmonston and Seminole. Edmonston and Seminole, for the record, had warm drinks. And let me tell you something. Unless you're a baby, you don't want warm milk.
Warm though. They were just cool. They weren't cool.
Did you feel them? Did you feel them?
No, but
no, you didn't. You can't. No. It's bullshit. Let me tell you what.
The cans and bottles were clearly at least
No. You don't see hot and cold. You feel it. That's how the senses work.
You can see. Let me ask you this. If you look at a can in a fridge, you can tell if you have a cold can of, let's say, of a nice Royal Crown RC Cola, you can see the sweating on the can to indicate that it's cold. If you see a warm one, there's nothing. It's not glistening, nothing.
Okay, but that's a secondary assumption.
Right. But look,
that's a secondary assumption. It doesn't necessarily mean it's cold. And by the way, I think you're lying to begin with.
This.
What will you concede?
That the way I phrased my question, maybe you thought I was asking if it was like other 7-Elevens, and you were saying that yes. Okay. Maybe I'm pretty sure, and I'll check my memoirs, my writings from the night in my journal. But I'm pretty sure I asked you, because I always, try to keep, write down all my correspondences with people in case, I have to go back later to dispute any claims that they've made.
I don't see your notepad.
These outlandish claims. I'll get it out later.
I don't see it.
Nice moleskin.
There's no legal pad. There's no legal pad.
There is.
Snakes.
Listeners, it's very nice. Think of the nicest one you've seen at Barnes & Noble when you're buying a gift for your mom, and you're like, I'm going to get, and you're like, no, I'm not going to get that one. That's like $30. No way. Anyway, it's that kind.
Straight to the gift cards from me. But anyway.
We don't need to. We'll edit that out. We don't want to do any promotion for them. I don't know what their corporation's doing these days. But here's the deal. I believe I asked Nick, are they cold? And what I believe he said, and maybe we can even go to the store and get them to pull the footage, was yes. It's surprisingly cold.
That is totally.
And then what he said to me afterwards was, Connor, also, if anything should happen where we're disputing whether or not I told you the drinks were cold later on, then I want all the people to know that these drinks were cold and that this is slander.
Let me tell you something. This is a fib squared. Let me tell you something. This is an exponential fib.
It's possible.
You have concocted. If you stuck this fib on a coordinate plane, it's making a parabola, folks. This is bullshit. Those drinks were hot as the hot.
They were hot now.
Okay.
You are dragging this 7-Eleven through the mud. They were not that bad. Now, look,
do you mean?
7-Eleven sucks. It's going to get a
These
bad rating.
drinks
but
were
you're
hot
attacking-
as the goddamn sun. Let me tell you.
hot. They were, let's be honest, how cold were they?
They were not cold. What are you
Were they
talking about?
cool? Were they cool?
Oh.
But you're, the
They're
assertion.
They're sitting under lamps. You know, you got to be illuminated. So when there's no refrigeration, they're just sitting under hot lamps all day. Of course, they're going to warm up. Plus, it was 75 degrees all day.
You know, something we should also consider is they might have just restocked the fridge and they weren't cold yet. That's possible. But, you know,
Okay.
no, because they stocked them from the back. So the warm ones would be in the back.
Yeah, and well, that is another thing, is that they're like the stacks, like the shelves. There were many empty spaces in the coolers as well. You know, they did not have a varied selection.
No, it was shit.
I did feel a quart of chocolate milk. I always make a point to go and feel the quarts of chocolate milk that sit in the 7-Eleven coolers. No, that's kind of my thing.
Yeah,
I go
I
in
heard that.
and I put my hand to it, you know, to get a sense of what that temp is. And this temp was not my temp. This was someone else's temp. I don't know whose, but not mine. Let me tell you, these things were hotter than Molly on Palm Sunday.
I was there. He didn't. It's possible there was a miscommunication about whether the drinks were cold or not, but you definitely did not remark when we were there or any time since before just now about any of the drinks being hot. I just want to put that on the record.
All right.
Now, what I would like to discuss about this 7-Eleven is what Nick very eloquently talked about off mic earlier, is the setup. This is one of those 7-Elevens where there's like everything goes around the counter in a way that makes you often also have to have awkward eye contact with the cashiers, who were like not amused by anything we were doing.
Yeah.
No, they were friendly. I'll say that. They didn't, they were cool. But
yeah, this was definitely more of a panopticon style of a 7-Eleven, where the guard, or the state in this sense, the authority of
keep going.
The authority of the locale is positioned in the center on high ground, where theoretically at any position inside the store you're visible from that authority. Now, this makes it a little uncomfortable. You have to go behind the motherfucker to go get your fucking Slurpee. And, you're sitting there. You don't know whose eyes are on you, if they're on you. And I gotta say, it's not very inviting.
And you gotta sometimes go. There's a lot of 7-Elevens like this. Never good ones, I want to point out.
No.
There's no 7-Eleven that I particularly, when I go past one, I'm like, oh, that's a good 7-Eleven. I like going there.
Yeah.
Never is it one that has this layout.
No.
It also usually means that, so personally, I'm going to be a little revealing here because Nick's assured me it's a safe space. I put a little bit of ice in my hot coffee. Cool it down. I did this earlier at another 7-Eleven that was did not have this layout, I want to point out.
But
we'll get into later. I put a little bit of ice in there. And some 7-Elevens have, and stores in general, Sheets, by the way, which I'm overall a fan of, but Sheets, which we'll talk about them another time, but they do that thing where the soda machine is nowhere near the coffee machine if you want to get ice. Now, admittedly, why would they think that most people are putting ice cubes in their coffee? They wouldn't make that assumption. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but that's neither here nor there. Now, this 7-Eleven, it's also one where sometimes, I don't remember if this is the case, so I don't want to throw their name into the mud, but often, you get the coffee here, but then the station that has the lids and stuff is around the counter somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's not set up logistically in a way that's where things run smoothly. You're going back and forth all around this fucking counter. It's bad. Anyway, Nick, go on.
Yeah. One thing I will say is that we actually one thing I will say is we actually didn't have a problem with what you just described. You want to know why? Because there were no goddamn cups in the 7-Eleven. Not only did they not have any, delicious Salvadoran snacks to get, but they had no holders for your coffee. They had no cups, no big gulp cups, no Slurpee cups, which, oh, by the way, they seem to have gotten rid of the specifically Slurpee cups. They expect you to put your Slurpee in the big gulp cup like a fucking troglodyte. Um, and I resent that.
I do too.
I very
We're
much
in
resent
agreement.
that.
I want the record to show we are in agreement on this.
Yes, I mean, I feel like, I'm in the dark ages when I do that kind of thing. It's beneath me. Anyway, we didn't have to worry about any of that because there were no cups in the establishment. I even did the thing where, I'm like opening the underneath part under beneath the big cold machine.
Audacity.
Let me tell you, I opened it. It's fucking hollow. Nothing in those things. Nothing going on in there. This was a very unfruitful visit to 7-Eleven in that regard, which brings us to my last experience that I'm going to articulate. You can chime in with some more stuff.
And
Actually, yeah, why don't you go ahead? I just talked for a while.
Well, I didn't have anything quite as interesting to say. Let me see. What did I even buy there? I think I bought some little donut things. But
You did, yeah. They're actually pretty good.
look, it's just not a good. I mean, look, it's a very like basic and lacking 7-Eleven. It's not bad, but it's like this is one you only go to out of convenience. And I want to say I know that maybe it's not fair that we're attacking it for issues that might only be the case late at night. But it is, if you're opening a 24/7 establishment, there should be a standard of quality, and they had none of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the quality, if that's what it's like on a fucking weekday morning, which was approaching, then they should be hanged and quartered.
Yeah.
Who's running this place?
Yeah, I mean, the rush, the 5 a.m. rush, people starting to get their coffees, start their jobs, typically in the trades, my dad was somebody who would, probably be at a place like this at, 5:30 in the morning before his day started. You got to have your shit together. And as we were approaching those hours, like you said, I mean, they had nothing. They had absolutely nothing. It was a complete disaster. And I also want to say that this is not the type of 7-Eleven that I think has to deal with convenience quite a bit, because it's actually in a very unconvenient place.
Yeah.
It's hard to get to by all modes of transportation. There's no buses, I believe, that go down Edmonston. I could be wrong about that, but I'm not aware of any buses. There's very little foot traffic because it's all single family homes, and it's kind of situated in this catty corner beneath two highways, that being Kenilworth Avenue and 193 Greenbelt Road. And there's not really any decent way to get there. Even by car, you kind of have to go around and through the neighborhood.
Trying to get in, and I've been there a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Let me say something about that. Essentially, it's a street that goes parallel to Kenilworth, but doesn't really conveniently, by any stretch, connect with Kenilworth.
No.
Nor does it conveniently connect with the street it comes off of.
No.
Which is Greenbelt Road. And then it's like a 20-mile... If you were to take it to go down to Kenilworth, you have to go through the neighborhood where there's speed cameras and 20 miles an hour. It's kind of just this weird little tucked away corner.
Yeah.
And I think what used to be next to it?
So I don't know if any businesses used to be next to it. I think you're right.
For a long time. Say, positive memories of this 7-Eleven. I associate it with. I remember going there because a friend of mine growing up lived in Berwyn Heights, and my dad and I would. My dad, 7-Eleven connoisseur, we'll have him on at some point.
Yep.
We would go to that 7-Eleven pretty much every time, and I'd go with my friend every time I was in Berwyn Heights. So when I was in childhood, I remember running into my cousin there one time.
It is,
and
yeah, good.
And so I have positive memories, and I don't remember liking anything about the 7-Eleven in those times, but I have good memories, and it's so I wanted to like it, is what I'm going to say here before we eviscerate it in our reviews.
I think when you're a kid, I don't know about you, but 7-Eleven was like a treat, because you get in there and it's, very colorful. All the
bright lights,
very bright usually. There's, very colorful drinks, Slurpees, are always a pleasure. I always like to mix like Coke and cherry pina colada.
Pina colada Slurpee.
Pina colada, oh, so good. Especially in summer. I
You can
mean,
get one at that 7-Eleven.
no. It's probably made out of some guy's,
Okay.
you know what I means.
We're going to edit.
But I
edit
think
that.
that's, I think
Ernie,
Ernie,
can you mark
mark
Cool.
it. He's here. Yeah. Okay. He's definitely. I want to talk about the last thing. What really sold me on this being a bad 7-Eleven, and that's the taquito situation.
Oh, yeah.
It's taquito time. I'm gonna get taquitos.
We'll do a little song for that segment.
Yeah, we'll do a little jig. So at every 7-Eleven we go to, I'm going to get at least 2 taquitos. They're 2 for $2.29, 3 for $3. For some reason, I decided to do the 3 for $3. Even though I'm looking at this heat lamp, I'm looking at this rotisserie, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of crust. I'm seeing a lot of dark spots.
It's not looking good.
It was not very appetizing. However, I'm thinking it's a 7-Eleven taquito. I've had a million of these in my life. How bad could it be? Jesus Christmas. This was the worst taquito I think I've ever had in my life. And I got 2 varieties. I got the chicken roller, the buffalo chicken roller, and yes, and the Monterey Jack. I thought I was safe.
Solid.
I'm not fucking with the jalapeno cream cheese or the taco surprise. I'm not rocking with that.
Yeah.
I'm going for classic. And when I tell you I bit into this, I swear I'm biting into an igneous rock. I'm biting into some quartz here. I'm not enjoying a savory, soft, melted meal. I have to go to the dentist because I just chipped a tooth. I just lost a crown.
I want to interject here. I heard an unmistakable crunch. Not the kind, I'm talking like a crunch like he bit into an egg roll, like a fried egg roll, but like louder. Like autumn leaves breaking under boots. Like dry autumn leaves crunching. This sounded like. This did not sound good. And I would just describe Nick's face at this moment, and we do have pictures of this. There are photos of this as unadulterated disappointment.
I was so disappointed, and I want to say more about that sound. Imagine you're taking the SAT, and you've brought with you a bag of Sun Chips. You're the first person to hand in their test. Everyone else is still testing. You reach into your bag. You feel that foil, that unmistakable.
All right. Thank you very much. And now we're about to transition to a little segment that we call Illegal Crimes. This first illegal crime segment was recorded with our dear friend Alex Homan. And now let me take you to the best of the best, Mr. Con McFarlane, to give you a little background on this phone call for illegal crimes.
Fucking jazz voice. All right, so this is our first Illegal Crimes episode. Illegal Crimes is sort of a segment that we're doing that we got from Delaware Dan through my subsidiary, City of the Day, but we're not going to talk about that. It's an email blast. It's good stuff. And we had originally booked Alex to tell us about one illegal crime, and that turned into about 30 smaller stories before even getting to the real story. And some would argue that many illegal crimes were committed even during the telling of these tangents, these rants, where he just babbles on like a madman. But with that, we give you Alex Homan.
Flash forward in the future from Coachella. I'm living in Florida. I'm working at this fucked up vegan restaurant. I loved working there though. Some of the strongest bonds that I formed with people. I previously mentioned my black metal friend David. He's not black, but he's into metal. and but it doesn't matter if he's black or not. That's irrelevant to the conversation. It's like but
personally, I think it's okay either way.
I think it matters.
It's good to have a little bit of division on opinion on this. So no, I'm kidding. Like my boys Ben, Alex. There's a bunch of people I work with. Literally a kid named Anakin. It was surreal. I'm like, yo, Anakin, like, because like everyone's like, yo, I don't use grind. Everyone in Florida is like, I don't use grinders. Like I like to break the butt up with my hand so I can.
For weed, yeah, not the app.
I thought, yeah.
They definitely are on grind. They're definitely on Grinder. A lot of them are. You go to St. Pete, you go on Grinder, you're gonna make out like a bandit. If that's your thing, if that's what you want to do, you know. And so I'm just inhaling some fresh air. But there was like an initial group of people. Like I got hired right when the restaurant opened with several other people, and there was a lot of like original people that ended up getting fired. And one of them was, I was always nervous about Tampa because I'm pretty non-confrontational. I am, despite my boisterous persona, I guess. I am a practicing Buddhist. Every day I sit and do prayers and meditation and all this shit. I have a teacher that I talk to and all. I do it, and I love it. And it's just what I do. And I was always a little nervous about Tampa because I don't want to encounter. I know that there's a lot of like white supremacy groups and stuff specifically in Tampa, and they're always out. Like I saw the fucking swastika and shit in Tampa, and was like, Jesus Christ, like that's fucked up. And, like all this crazy shit, and like, oh man, it's funny to joke about it, and it's another thing to see it, and be like, holy shit, this is disconcerting to me, and a little bit, and a lot of it, and so I was, but and then I'm like, well, okay, working in a kitchen, I'm definitely probably going to end up meeting somebody, like this. I just didn't expect this person to be of that ideology, let's say. So I work with this woman, Sonia. Not Sonia. What the fuck was her name? Jesus Christ. It's disrespectful. I don't remember her name. Because she's a legend. She's actually on, like, Look at This Florida subreddit or whatever.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I read that every morning.
Do you really?
No.
You should. Because there's probably some, you'll see her on it. What the fuck was her name?
Nick's stepping up.
I've been holding a piss for a very long time.
And I'm going to when he gets back, but keep going.
I'm about to bust.
You should just piss your pants.
Don't say that. We'll edit that out.
I'm gonna bust. Damn it. I can't remember her name. Anyways,
Sonia.
It wasn't Sonia. I'm gonna edit all that. It wasn't. Sonia's a different person I work with.
National
Lovely person.
Socialist Sonia.
No, it's not Sonia. But the first part was right. It's this like middle-aged black woman.
Okay.
And we're chilling, and she's like making jokes, and she's clearly been the type of person that's just been working in kitchens like her whole life. Like that's what she does. She lives in the public housing. She's a chill person. I really we got along in a lot of ways. Our musical tastes were a little different. She's super into Maiden and Metallica. It's her favorite band, and all this stuff. But she, I don't know that she was like officially like a Nazi, but she was like, you want to see something fucked up? Keep in mind, her skin, like she's of black descent. Her ancestors are not white. And she's like, you want to see something fucked up? I'm like, okay. Like I'm thinking she's gonna pull her phone out and it's like someone's dick getting cut in half or something like that. I'm like, oh cool. Like, yeah, that's crazy, yo. Like, no, she rolls her sleeve up, and she has a swastika tattoo on her arm. It's a swastika on black skin, and it says "White Power." Sylvia, that's her name, Sylvia. And I was like, holy shit, my brain fucking splintered into 1,000 pieces. Because I was like,
now, okay, I want to stop right there because that is probably an illegal crime.
It is. Hate crime is illegal. Being an enrolled member of a hate group. Now, I don't know that she was. I think she definitely had the sense of humor that she would think something like that was funny. She was like...
I will say if it is a joke because you know, it's kind of funny because it's like ironic.
Yeah.
But that's a very weirdly, like, extreme, route to take for humor.
Yeah. I think that, so her explanation that she would tell me and other people was that she never wanted to get a tattoo, but she ended up befriending this bartender because that's her social life is just living at a bar when she's not at work, playing Mario Kart, apparently, according to her. But her explanation was that she never wanted to get a tattoo.
We're losing you.
But you're getting set back up. So this woman he worked with, who was black, showed him a swastika tattoo that she has that also has white power.
Oh my god!
So her last name is White, and she was actually adopted. She was adopted. She grew up in Massachusetts, adopted by a white family with the last name White. So there was like a couple layers there. We're like, okay, it's just her name. Like, and her explanation for the tattoo is that she never wanted a tattoo until she befriended this like bartender that was like a tattoo artist, and he was like, they're so drunk, and he was like drinking after the bar closed, and he was like, I want to give you a tattoo, and she's like, okay, well, if you give me a tattoo, it might as well be a conversation starter. And then,
oh shit, no shit.
As a joke, so she's not really like actually out marching with it, but her whole experience was very white centric, and she was actually verifiably, and she if she was here, she wouldn't refute this. What I'm about to say, she is racist against black people. Like her whole thing is she like hates like rap culture and just thinks that it's all fake or something. I don't know. She just has like the kind of like Tucker Carlson talking points so like some of my other coworkers who are just normal people that happen to be black that she worked with, she would kind of pick on them, and it took us a while to piece together that she's actually being prejudiced against other black people like herself. And so
would you describe her as self-hating?
Yeah, that was what I was able to piece together after a few months working with her was that this is, and what I would tell my other coworkers who also to kind of help them cope about it, I would just tell them what I kind of thought I realized about it, and I don't want to assume shit for people, but it definitely empirically seems like this is the case, that I was like, that's just internalized, this is like generational trauma working itself out in like the weirdest way possible during late stage capitalism in like a techno media hellscape. Like, this is clearly beyond anyone's like regular comprehension or cognition, and no, I don't think she would go out and actually commit a hate crime against a black person, or definitely not white people. But it seemed like she was only hanging out with like kind of like Trumper dudes and stuff, and it's a party town, so everyone's like, oh, it's funny that this black woman has a Nazi.
You can't see her own white privilege. I'm saying this unironically.
She sounds like somebody that would be on like the Jerry Springer show.
Exactly. She 100%.
Not even Oprah.
Not yeah. Oh. She just but it was funny. Like her and I got along just fine. I think for obvious reasons. That shouldn't be that obvious. I just thought we were
getting this. Just so because you are on record here and this is live. You condone black white supremacy.
It sounds like you're part of the problem.
No, I refute that statement 100%. I'm not against
That's fine. We'll edit it to make it seem like that's what you said, though.
That's the goal.
I support black supremacy over other black people.
This is not edited.
Is unedited. This is raw.
This is not edited. Yeah, I'm gonna do the same. Let's bid our listeners farewell. Thank you for listening, or your listeners. They're not, I'm just
Well,
helping
they
you
did
guys.
just listen to quite a bit of you talking.
Yeah.
And the audio source is like my voice is clear, but y'all are on the phone, but you can still hear you. Like you're hearing it the way I in person hear it now.
Okay.
If you're listening to the podcast, you're hearing it like if you were in the room with me. So I'm just gonna go ahead and thank you for listening. Check it out.
And we're back. For the second segment, we're going to go ahead and talk about another Berwyn Heights 7-Eleven. This is the Battle of Berwyn Heights. The second 7-Eleven is located just about maybe 3/4 of a mile down from Edmonston.
I think it's a full mile.
You think it's a full mile?
I'd say it's maybe even more than a mile. I'm really bad at measuring like distance.
All right, but then if you're
blocks.
wait a minute, if you're
Beltway Plaza.
if you're admittedly bad at measuring, why did you interject? What made you believe that my assumption?
It's more like a mile.
You just
maybe
said
a
you
mile
were bad
and
at
a mile and a half.
measuring.
But it's the other side of Beltway Plaza.
That means nothing to anybody.
Yep. No, you fucking know what I'm talking about. Beltway Plaza's got to be a goddamn mile apart.
All right. Clearly, we're we're on a tangent about Beltway Plaza. For those of you who are unaware, Beltway Plaza is, I suppose, it is a mall in the sense that you go inside and there are stores. You can enter inside and there are stores on the interior.
Is the Giant still there?
The Giant is still
We used
there.
to drive to that Giant when we wanted to go to a good Giant.
Yeah.
Hills one, we'd drive to that Giant.
Yeah, and there even used to be a really shitty Chevrolet Giant, which was even worse than the Landover Hills one. Yeah,
next to Landover Liquors.
It's true, but the Greenbelt Plaza, Beltway Plaza,
AMC Theater.
Yeah, are we just gonna name every amenity?
There's a TJ Maxx. There's a Target. I was in that Target the other day. That Target is popping off at night. That is a good Target, though. Well stocked. It's a scene in there. All kinds of people in there. It is fun. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's culturally hodgepodge-ish. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about 58th and Greenbelt Road, across from Beltway Plaza. As I was saying, Beltway Plaza is a long mall, and the distance between these two 7-Elevens is about the length of the mall. Now, if we want to talk about other things that are near Greenbelt and 58th, let's just set the scene for our audience. Greenbelt and 58th Avenue 7-Eleven is right next to the finest pizza establishment. Pizza, it's Little Caesars.
Based out of Detroit, Michigan.
And I am a Little Caesars defender. Connor, would you describe yourself as such?
I don't think... Yes, I will defend it. I don't think I can't... I'm going to get out ahead of this right away. Look at your lips. Very distracting. I'm someone that can't eat dairy anymore. I used to. I can't eat cheese. I don't think they have cheeseless pizzas.
Well, there's nothing real about their cheese.
Or customizable pizzas. I doubt it. It's that. Anyway, that's beside the point. But I defend Little Caesars. I think they have fine products. Their wings are not great. I'm not going to defend their wings.
No. But, Crazy Bread, $2.99, yes. $5 hot and ready pizza. I've never gotten anything and been like, this is not what I was expecting. You pay $5 for a pizza in the 2020s. What the hell were you expecting?
Are they still $5?
They're still $5.
Like $6.99 now.
I think you're thinking of some of their bullshit, like deep cut, uncut, post
Thick
cut,
cut,
thick cut,
double cut, deli thin cut.
deli, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? The But to set the scene, though, these two businesses are connected, and
They're
this is a little.
conjoined.
They're conjoined, but what's special about this is that the Little Caesars actually has a drive-through.
I didn't notice that.
This is a drive-through Little Caesars, which I have never seen anywhere else in my life.
It makes sense.
It does make sense because it's got kind of a wide parking lot, and clearly, Little Caesars was the best thing to go there for this. I wonder if it was something before Little Caesars.
Maybe a liquor store.
Yeah, it could have been a liquor store.
Remember when that Little Caesars got put in there?
Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it definitely seems like that might have been something that was pre-existing, and may have been another business, maybe like fast food or possibly a liquor store.
What else was there? I'm gonna have to ask. I feel like that 7-Eleven's new.
We'll need to go to the cartographer.
We'll look at some blueprints, some maps.
Yeah, we'll go to the library, and we'll sort this whole thing out. We'll get Brendan on this right away. But you know what's also near the 7-Eleven? I'm gonna have my controversial topic alert. An abortion clinic. That's right. There's an abortion clinic 1 block over from the 7-Eleven. You don't get that at Edmonston and Seminole, let me tell you. Now moving on.
You want to get I mean, that's just one-stop shopping. You can get a pizza at... Well, you could really double down, too. You could get a pizza at Little Caesars. Don't get the wings. Get the 7-Eleven wings. Maybe get a 7-Eleven pizza also. Because 7-Eleven, I can't eat that either. But the wings in there, by the way, looked fresh. But we'll get to that later. You can get everything you need. You can get reproductive health care.
Yep.
Which is, more widely protected in the state of Maryland and the District of Columbia.
Correct.
I don't know exactly what's going on in Virginia and the Commonwealth. I don't think it's good.
No,
but
I can't imagine.
We are not supposed to be talking about politics. They made that very clear on the application to get on
WOWD.
BJ, HJ, whatever. What is it?
WOWD.
WMD. And... But look, sorry. Also, I want to get ahead of this. I've had a tickle in my throat. I got a throat thing going on. That's why I'm coughing a lot. It's not a joke. I'm not gonna lie. I do have a Halls Inn that I bought, menthol flavored. Cough and throat relief. Halls brand. Oh, there's 30 in here. Very good price at said 7-Eleven.
Connor, do you want to walk us through your experience?
I'd love to, Nick. We arrived, and we knew it was going to be good, because there's no other cars that I recall in the parking lot. So I wonder if the employees park out back, or the employees probably just don't have cars. Which tracks.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they would probably park in the back. There's probably a back area. But that's not, it's neither here nor there. Well, it is. I mean, it is important. We'll check it out next time. But we know it's going to be good because the delivery truck, and I'm not talking about a little truck. I'm talking about like CDL, like big truck trailer, backed in. They're making deliveries. Though they didn't really seem to be doing any. It didn't disrupt the flow of the store at all. It also meant that the door was open. We didn't have to get buzzed in. I don't know if they do that normally there.
No, the guy was just punching in shit on his iPad. He wasn't doing shit.
Yeah, they were doing inventory or something. But it was a good time to go. Because all their cards were laid out, figuratively speaking. And we came in, lighting's good. Clearly, I said right away something along the lines of, like, I like this 7-Eleven. Now, some things did happen that are disagreeable that I didn't like about this one. That did turn out to be user error on my part. First, I go to try to get some coffee. I'm like, hazelnut, let's go. Let's do it. Not from the little machine that grinds it and stuff, but from the regular coffee urn. And just straight coffee flavored water comes out. And Nick even took a picture of it, and we were going to write a scathing review. And then I realized that, like the other ones next to it, they're probably cleaning it, and they just didn't have a cup blocking it. The thing. which the one next to it did in retrospect. That was my bad. We're not going to hold that against them. Then I go to a little machine. I'm pretty sure I selected on the machine. They do have an option to give you not hot coffee. I thought hot coffee. I could be wrong. I also put a lot of ice in the cup because unlike the last 7-Eleven, this one, I'm talking about that ice machine is right there next to the coffee. Soda machine, very smooth logistically. Single line service, to use some railroad terms that don't really make sense here. I fill the cup up. There's a good amount of ice, not too much. But when I take this coffee out, and I had Nick put his finger in it, he's a kind of a weird guy. I'm talking, it's cold. It's cool, not even cold.
It's bone chilling.
Because unlike him, I'm not. I don't suffer from chronic exaggeration in my tales of temperature. But it was not. And it wasn't the ice. The ice couldn't have cooled it down that fast to that degree. But then when I went back and made sure I selected hot, as Nick suggested, it was perfect. And you know what? It wasn't too hot. I only needed a very small amount of ice to make it very easy and pleasant to drink. It was not too hot. It was perfect. I don't normally like those little machines, the ones where like it grinds it and you select it on the screen. They often don't work. But it was a good cup of coffee. Nick had some of it. Nick, did you like the coffee?
Oh, I mean, I was enjoying the coffee up until like an hour or two ago, and then it became a little too lukewarm for my tasting. But I do agree that the coffee situation, it was nothing to complain about in this particular 7-Eleven, except for your comedy of errors, which led to our false assumptions that were later put into that negative feedback loop. And I just want to say, somebody call the National Weather Service because this guy's got brain fog.
Okay. I think it's clear skies out here. Not literally. It's pretty, actually pretty wet outside, pretty moist out there. But
Slurp it up.
We're gonna edit that. Ernie, can we edit that little line out? So here's the deal, Jack. So we go in and check the beverages. And now I'm gonna say how I remember this happening so there's not another disagreement. Nick went in, he felt a couple drinks, and he said they're cold. That fridge was working and it was doing its job, and it was doing it well.
That is correct.
All right.
Yes, for the drinks were very cold, ready to drink. Very satisfied with the temp. I felt it in my neurons. We were all hunky dory.
He's got the hiccups, guys. And so I want to speak to the selection at this 7-Eleven. Not only, I didn't really look too much at the chips or anything, but they had, and I'm talking, this is like 9 p.m.
They were abundant.
9 p.m. on, it's a Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Everyone. Not a lot of people there yet, but they had fresh wings out. They had everything out. Everything was looking good. Everything was looking good in this one. The lighting was bright, but it wasn't harsh. It wasn't like the older 7-Elevens with that harsh church basement lighting.
No.
And they had liquid depths. They had some of the good caffeinated peach. I'm going to pull one out. I bought one. I didn't drink it yet. I'm not going to drink it tonight. But one of the Rest in Peach iced tea agave, kind of peach flavored liquid depths, which usually only nicer 7-Elevens carry.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of them. They also had Conquistador fruit drinks, which are and we can talk about these at a different time. There's some interesting things going on with this brand. A Vietnamese juice, in that like a sugar juice, essentially. It's not a lot of, it does have pulp in it, but they chose, I guess they thought this would be appealing to the Latino market in the U.S., is the image of a conquistador, which they probably, maybe they did research over there in Vietnam about this, but not necessarily the most beloved imagery for that demographic. But be that as it may, it is pretty good in terms of juice. I had a mango one the other night, not from that 7-Eleven, but from another 7-Eleven that carries them in Hyattsville, the one we were talking about, the shitty one.
Yeah.
Route 1, next to the laundromat.
Right, exactly.
And don't worry, believe me, we will be featuring that one at some point soon.
Stay tuned.
But back to this Berwyn Heights one by past, as we've already established, past Beltway Plaza, closer to the train tracks. So, I mean, let's see. I feel like they had everything you could have in there. I was blown away. I was blown away by the selection. It seemed like there's only one guy working in there except for the truck driver dude, but
yeah, I feel like there could have been more cups.
Yeah, it was dwindling.
Yeah, they were definitely thin on the cups. Some sizes not quite there. So size variation, size diversity. Not all body types were represented in terms of cups. However, they had, I don't know if I've ever seen this before. I don't know if I've ever just never noticed this before, but in the corner by the front, by the register, they had merch. 7-Eleven merch.
Yeah, and the good shit. A lot. I'm glad you brought this up. I forgot about that aspect of it. Or I was going to save it for the end. But they had, and I might go back and buy some of this merch. They had 7-Eleven beanies, green beanies. They had, you're going to want to plug your laptop in, by the way. They had hoodies, 7-Eleven hoodies. They had all kinds of stuff, stickers, you name it. They didn't really have like regular caps because I guess they're getting ready for like winter mode, but they had some good stuff. And now a lot of 7-Elevens usually just have their random assortment of hats, but these were like name brand ones. This is like clearly, I'm assuming this is like a corporate 7-Eleven. This isn't like a franchise one. This is, or it is a franchise one. I don't know which.
We're not really sure. We've done no investigating.
No.
We're going on raw feel here.
Yeah, but it felt good. Let me tell you.
It felt very inviting, very warm. The kind of place you'd want to take grandma to, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
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 And yeah.
Well, I want to point out a little aside to Nick's comment about the cups. The coffee cups were well stocked. They had all the sizes. They had all the lids. The lids were like filled up. They clearly restocked the lids. I didn't see the little, what do you call those things, Nick? The little sleeves that you put on them for hot drinks.
Sleeves?
Yeah, I guess sleeves. But I didn't see those, but I didn't really look for them, and I didn't need it because, like I said, the coffee was just the right temperature. It was a Goldilocks situation. Yeah.
So, yeah, we were really feeling this place much more. I don't want to speak for you, Connor, but I would say that we were feeling this 7-Eleven way more than its competitor down the street.
I don't even think you would call it a competitor.
Yeah? You don't think there's a competition between? You don't think they're pulling from the same customer base? They're both in Berwyn Heights. Berwyn Heights is not very big.
Yeah, but one is on I'm glad you brought this up. One is very prominently placed on 193, a major
highway.
Also not that far from like College Park.
No.
And the University of Maryland. There's a diner nearby. A spot that's going to be popping off at all times. Whereas that other 7-Eleven is fucking tucked away in this little nightmare world, off with Edmonston Road that isn't shit until it gets to closer to Edmonston, really. So they're not even comparable.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. I mean, in terms of peeling customers away, I think that the 193, the Greenbelt Road one should be running away with the money because they were just, more prominently located, better stocked, more visible, and just overall a more decent experience.
Now, Nick, I think you might have gotten some taquitos while we were there. Would you like to talk about that?
That's right. It's taquito time. I bought 2 taquitos from Greenbelt and 58th. And I'm not going to say that they were leagues better than the other ones. while the Edmonston and Seminole Road ones were inedible, I literally could not eat
You
them.
threw them away.
I had to throw them away, but you could not eat them. They were rock hard. I wasn't kidding about that. It was like biting into a diamond. It was like biting into raw carbon. It was like biting into someone else's tooth. These weren't that bad. I finished them. And I'm somebody, I hate wasting food. I am somebody that if I order something and I don't like it, I'll eat the whole thing because I just don't like wasting food. Edmonston and Seminoles were so bad that I threw them away. I'm not going to say that the Greenbelt and 58th Avenue ones were great. They were still kind of brittle and, tough, but they were edible. I finished them. They weren't hot. I've never gotten a taquito that was blazing hot. Usually, especially if you go any time after the lunch rush, after like 5 or 6 p.m., you kind of know what you're getting. You're getting heat lamp taquitos, and they're going to be, mild to warm. And these didn't really have like a very good mouth feel, that's for sure.
Stole the question right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about the MF.
Yeah, the MF was, nothing great, but they were edible. They were edible.
But let's, if you had to rate them based on what they are, which is 7-Eleven taquitos, and therefore only comparing them to 7-Eleven, they're 7-Eleven taquitos.
These were middle of the pack. These were a solid 5 out of 10.
Have you ever had a 10 out of 10?
Yes. Like when you get them at the right time, when they just got out of the roller, when they're just right and they're warm and the cheese is still melted and it hasn't been under the heat lamp that long. Yes,
well,
they're delicious.
Probably a lot of them, but 7-Elevens that are near like warehouses and places where people are working late at night and getting off at third shift people are getting off. There's a 7-Eleven in Jessup, and I have someone I might have come on the program who spent a lot of time at this 7-Eleven who he might fly out from Chicago to talk about it specifically, but I'm talking about you go in there around like 3 a.m. and all that stuff is fresh. They got wings. They got the good thick cut wings. I don't know if it's real chicken. I don't know what's going on with those things, but they got them. Like they have them fresh, and they're keeping that stuff. They're making fresh pizza at that time.
Well, that's a unique situation, I would say.
And that's quite ways out of the Beltway,
yeah.
So we're not going to talk about that in the official rankings.
But what I will say, I think that proves the point that when it's fresh, when you catch it when it's fresh, that's when you get your 10 out of 10s, I think. But, it kind of speaks to it. If you have the majority of your selection is unfresh, then that means nobody's buying. That means nobody's in the joint. And you're not turning over your stock. You're leaving, 9-hour taquitos to just turn till the end of time. I don't know how old the taquitos were at Edmonston and Seminole. They could have been eons old.
All day. That was
all
the first
day.
shift. Made those in the morning.
Those were 6 a.m. taquitos. 8 at 1 a.m. the following day. So, those are the worst I've ever had. By far, in that after that,
that's a bold statement.
You're
gonna have to eat a whole lot more.
This is episode 1, but I feel confident, even though this is the first episode, that those were the worst taquitos I've had and will have at any 7-Eleven ever.
Well, and now you have a rock bottom to compare others to. So hopefully it can only go up from here.
After I ate those taquitos, you were with me. We went immediately to McDonald's.
We did. I was going to bring that up.
Yep.
Yeah, you went immediately to McDonald's, and I want to say you got a McChicken and a McDouble.
Yep, and that's what you do. I mean, what the hell else do you get, When you're on a budget and, we're eating 7-Eleven food, so that applies to us.
Sometimes you got to treat yourself and upgrade,
Yeah,
McDonald's.
Instead of that 3 for $3, you got to get that 2 for $4. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Scrumptious, always a good MF. always a good
Oh,
time.
not always.
Uh,
You ever had a bad McChicken?
no, I can't recall having a bad McChicken. Listen, my standards are low. My standards,
I
yeah.
tried to get you to eat the taquito. I thought you were being wasteful.
You did you want to eat that
The
taquito?
whole way, I feel like.
I feel like you should have eaten that taquito.
I can't do it.
Jesus, this is cop out for everything.
I won't do it.
This is cop out for everything. This is a disaster. You know, you're just coming on here and you're lying and you're misfibbing. You're telling miscreant deeds and whatnots.
We'll save that for our illegal crime segment. But now here, and look, here's what I want to say. That other 7-Eleven, that, what is it, Seminole and Edmonston?
Yep.
That 7-Eleven, I would walk in the rain 1.5 miles, I want to say. We're going to look it up at some point while we got you guys here. 1.2 miles, I'm going to say, from that 7-Eleven to the other 7-Eleven. Because that's how, and even if I was just buying an unopened cold drink, that's how I feel about that other 7-Eleven. It's light years ahead of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this first episode, we're pitting these 7-Elevens together. We really picked a real David Goliath type thing, except, that little punk David doesn't get the up and up on this one. I'll cut that out.
We're keeping it. Ernie, mark it. Keep it.
We really picked one. This is the New York Giants versus Bladensburg High School. Let me tell you. I mean, those Edmonston boys didn't stand a chance against Greenbelt and 58th.
It's like the Battle of Bladensburg.
Yep, the Battle of Bladensburg all over again.
The road one is the British in this scenario. I'm going to want you to pause right here if you're, obviously this is live, but if you're listening to a recording of this later, or if you can pause live, some stations actually, if you listen online, you can pause live radio.
This is true.
If you pause and then don't pause yet, wait till I tell you the thing to do next, but go to the Wikipedia page for the Battle of Bladensburg. I'm talking War of 1812. It was a disgrace on our end. We were devastatingly defeated, and then the British sacked DC. But we'll talk about that. We
might have a whole episode on the War of
7-Eleven in Bladensburg that we will.
That will be the Battle of Bladensburg.
It will be.
Because, we might have to do a whole episode on the War of 1812 because, I'll just say this. Most of it was fought in 1814, including the Battle of Bladensburg, due to the Napoleonic Wars. That has nothing to do with 7-Eleven, except for the fact that I don't think Napoleon would be caught dead at Edmonston and Seminole, even if he was on exile and had nowhere else to go.
No.
Boom.
He wouldn't.
He wouldn't.
And I bet you probably, to the listeners, you didn't think you'd be hearing names like Napoleon or War of 1812 getting brought up today.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of content that we promised, and this is the kind of content that we are going to deliver.
Yeah. If Edmonston and Seminole were the American troops stationed outside D.C., then I'm James Madison getting my house burned down.
All right, I think we've kind of gleaned as much as we can out of this. It's also curious, isn't Seminole the indigenous tribe of Florida?
I believe so, yes.
Fought against, whatever. We'll get into that at another point. We don't need to bring up Ponce de Leon or anything that happened in Florida or what's currently going on in Florida. Because I think you and I might have gone to a 7-Eleven while we were in Florida.
Did we? I think we went to a weird pool hall.
Well, that's different. Yeah,
Florida.
The same.
Yeah, same concept. This is a Florida-less podcast.
We're gonna
Florida-free zone.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into. Florida. Though there are probably 7-Elevens on Florida Avenue in Northwest Washington D.C. that we will inevitably be visiting.
Yes.
So, rule out things that are on Florida Avenue.
Yeah.
But that's for the sake of brevity here, let's get back to the.
I think we're ready for the rating.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first thing we're gonna rate it on is vibes. And fittingly, the vibes.
Edmonston and Seminole.
Yes, I think we're going to do back to back for both. We'll do in order of which we talked about. So vibes are going to be on a scale fittingly of 1 to 7, 7 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Edmonston Seminole, I'm going to say my vibe. I'm going to say a solid 2. I'm giving it just a leg above a 1 because there were interesting things to talk about. You know, vibes vibes are definitely bad. You know, locked doors.
Quiet in there.
Yeah, quiet,
Harsh
low,
lighting.
yeah, harsh lighting, the island, the Panopticon situation, the locked door, the empty cop car outside. But I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 7 because we had shit to talk about. You know, there were interesting things. There were things that made this 7-Eleven unique, and I think
Employees were friendly.
the employees were very friendly, and I think
They
that
were
gives.
suspicious of us. They were kind of watching us outside when you were eating the taquitos, but
Yeah, well, we know why. So I think for that reason, it gets a 2 out of 7 from me. What would you rate it?
I'm gonna give that one. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna. I don't. I'm gonna. I want to save my low vibe ratings for when the vibes are really off. I'm gonna give that one a 4 out of 7.
Interesting.
That's still barely a passing grade. That's just basically like a 60%. So it might not be. It depends on what how you're grading things. But now let's give it out of 1 to 11 overall review, and this is maybe a little more objective than just a vibe. Because to be clear, a vibe, a 7-Eleven can be fucking sketchy and like downright dangerous and awful in every way, but still pass the vibe check. Whereas, 11, that's a little more, this second thing is,
This is a quality metric.
there we go.
This is a quality metric. This is a holistic, comprehensive, qualitative, quantitative, qualitative, explicative, biometric analysis.
It's a provision.
It's provisional. It's exceptional. It's peer reviewed. Let's get to it. From 1 to 11, Connor, what's the number?
This is Seminole and Edmonston.
This is Seminole and Edmonston. What's the number?
Which, by the way, is not the actual. It's really on Edmonston, the actual address, but it's next to the.
We don't
Anyway,
do that.
I want to make it clear if people look it up later where they can find it. We'll put that in the write up. But I'm gonna give that one a 4 out of 11.
You know what? That's exactly what I was going to give it. A 4 out of 11. You know why? Because I do have a feeling that even though, just from my own experience before we started this, I know that there are 7-Elevens that have broken shit, that don't have well-stocked amenities, products on the shelves, cups on the shelves. I think that as we go on, we're really going to get into the doldrums of how bad a 7-Eleven can be. And I think that's what's going to make this interesting.
We're gonna be in the darkest chasms in the catacombs.
The catacombs.
Underneath, we think is the lowest possible rating.
We're going to be in the appendix of this shit. Let me tell you.
In the weeds.
The weeds, the ferns, the whole thing.
I will say, and look, and overall, I kind of like the vibe at that 7-Eleven. Not maybe if we went there during the day when they weren't so suspicious.
In terms of anthropological curiosity, sure.
7-Eleven, it had the feeling that it felt exactly like it did, and this really isn't a good thing. Like when I was there 15 to 20 to more than 20 years ago as a kid, which probably same flooring too. The floor was shitty. The lights were harsh.
Yeah.
But now, let's cleanse our palates for a second. What do you think about that Greenbelt Road 7-Eleven?
Greenbelt and 58th. I'm going to give my lightning rating, my vibe rating, 5 out of 7. High for me. Quality, my qualimetric scale, 9 out of 11.
And that's interesting because that's essentially exactly what I would give it.
Glad we're in agreement.
I'm going to say now it's also, it's just, it happens to be whenever we go, whatever time we go there is the vibe we get. I'm going to give it for the vibe. I think I'm also going to give it I feel bad because I gave the last one. Now I do, admittedly, in a out of 7 system, the jump between 4 and 5 is major.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to give it, but I'm still going to give it a 5. There wasn't any panhandlers there. I like that. I want to see some panhandlers. I want to know that shit is going down at this 7-Eleven. That's part of the vibe for me. So there wasn't that when we were there, but it also might be because the truck driver was there and maybe the riffraff was at the Little Caesars and it's kind of rainy out.
Yeah, and you want your 7-Eleven to be a social magnet of sorts.
So I might later recant this and decide to bump it up to a 6, but we're doing solid numbers, no fractional bullshit. So I'm going to give it a 5, and I'm also going to give it a 9.
5 and 9, there you have it.
And thus far, that's the highest rating either of us has given for any 7-Eleven.
Yes. I mean, this is the highest rating in podcast history.
As far as we know, of the system that we have established here.
Yeah, no one's given this score before. No one can say that they have given these scores before. And I think that's really special. I think that about does it. I think this was a good first episode. I think this experiment is going to work. I think it's very scientific. And I think that everyone's going to really enjoy
the methodology.
The methodology is there. It's very objective, systematic.
Really?
We're making, I'm glad that my training as an anthropologist has led me to take such descriptive, rich field notes with real, deep webs that are interconnected that really bring these 7-Elevens to life for you, the audience. I'm glad this is how I'm using my classical education.
We're essentially spelunking into the darkest catacombs of the pedantry.
Yes.
That is the modern post-capitalist world and reinvigorating the genre.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, 7-Elevens are the palimpsests that we as a society have come to, build these layers of our own expectations. It's a mirror of society reflecting back on us. When 7-Elevens are good, that means society's doing good. When 7-Elevens are bad, that means society is bad. There you have it. That's the analysis. I think we're about ready to sign off. Connor, any final words?
I think that was summed up beautifully. And I think this was a perfect ending to what has been a perfect first, I don't know if we're going to call it episode, but first live broadcast of this program.
This is live.
And this is live. We recorded it live.
Very live.
And it's probably you're listening on the radio. If you're not, you can also feel free to go back and listen to other parts. And I think stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of great segments coming up soon.
A lot of great guests lined up. Soon we'll have a link for you to give us some money.
We'll have a Patreon.
Venmo. Cash App. Zelle. You could just mail us some money.
We'll put out an address.
Yeah, P.O. Box. Or, you can just come to my house and just, give me some spare change. That's what Lee would want.
That is what he would want. And we should dedicate, when we do that 7-Eleven, we'll dedicate
to Lee.
Dedicate it to
him. By then, hopefully, we'll have video and, be able to hold up a little memorial sign for him. Or something to that degree.
I have a good picture of him at this. Actually, I have the perfect picture for this.
Perfect.
But we'll talk about that, in the editing process.
All right. Well, from Greenbelt, Maryland, we wish you a very good night and good luck.
Bye. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the 7-Eleven Boys with Nick Galloway and Connor McFarland. Coming up next week, we had a special guest. Boney Splits is going to be coming in. He's going to be in the studio live, so you're going to want to tune in for that. Turn it off.
Mommy made me ash my cigarette. Mommy made me ash my cigarette. Mommy made me ash my cigarette. Mommy,
This should-